All right, so picking up here at 2:30 with the Laocoon to Phaerunt. Remember Phaerunt from even on our Caesar syllabus can introduce an indirect statement. It can mean they say versus just the they bring. Remember also that compounds of it, like Rayfair, which also gives us to relate a story or to relate some information, can also introduce an indirect statement. But here, just the base Phaerunt is doing it. They say that the accusative Laocoon, and he is actually described as merentem, that a deserving Laocoon, and then our infinitive paid, or had, I guess they say that he paid a skelos, or paid for his crime, rather, paid for his crime. Pendopendere, the non-compound form of this verb, is also to pay. It actually means to hang, right? Because Roman scales where you would determine how much to pay somebody were hanging scales, right? Our libra, also librare, to balance, right? And where we get our LB pound abbreviation, right? Librare to balance, pendopendere to hang. Both of them have to do also with paying money. So to hang or to pay. And so this is like he had paid for. And then scelus sceleris is one of our us ris. I think I thought I had a list somewhere, but maybe not. A list of us ris nouns that are neuter, right? So that is the accusative here, had paid for his crime. And then once again, we have this like just sacrum all by itself before I launch into a relative clause that goes all the way to the end of the sentence. I mean, it goes at least to the verb, but then I see an et, and then I see another verb. So this whole thing is relative clause. And when I have just like one lonely word outside of the relative clause, what I might discover is that I should just move my bracket over, right? I don't know that right away, but I'm expecting that to happen. And when I look, like, what could sacrum possibly describe? Probably robur. If I look up robur, that is a neuter noun. And so sacrum robur, the sacred oak, the sacred wood, is probably the object of liceret. And then we have a nice little ablative, right? That he paid a penalty for his crime. He who licereted the sacrum robur with a like spear point, right? That's like the tip of a spear, like your bicuspids or your pointy teeth, I think. And right, he who did that, and who, looks like we got another ablative, and we've got another object. He who entorseted his sceleratam hastam, probably into the tergo. It could be dative of direction. I'm going to take away my ablative labeling here because I wanted it to be parallel to cuspide. But if he, like, threw his criminal spear, right, of course, this is sceleratum is related linguistically to scelus, making it a figura etymologica, perhaps. But he who, really, really twirled, right, for entorset. He who twisted or twirled, hurl or launch a missile through a spiral, I guess, like a Nerf football, or maybe a regular football. I just don't throw those, right? He who threw his sceleratam hastam, probably into its tergo, into the horse's tergo. Ducendum ad sedes simulacrum orandaque divi numina conclamant is its own sentence. Definitely conclamant is our verb, but conclamant is probably setting me up for either an object, they exclaim some things, or an indirect statement, they like exclaim that something is going on. If it is setting us up, if these are just objects, like they exclaim, it would be things like victory, right? They exclaim victory. But what I'm seeing is some accusative nouns like simulacrum and numina, along with these future passive participles. And it'd be really easy to put an essay here, making this like the infinitive version of a Carthago de lenda est, right? Our passive periphrastic, our gerundive of obligation. Carthago de lenda est, Carthage must be destroyed. Of course, if it were in an indirect statement, it would be Carthaginem de lendam esse. And so that's what's going on here. Like they shout con together. They exclaim, probably in unison, but like just they exclaim that the simulacrum must be or ought to be decendumed, to that seat in the temple. That it could just we could just translate it as the temple itself, right? But that's like the seat where the statue of the goddess is in the temple. And that the noumena must be oranded, and then dy must just be a genitive going with noumena. Dy synonym for dei, right? That the divine powers of the dei must be oranded. So indirect statement with the essays missing, and the indirect statement is a de lenda est construction, right? So people are like, he paid for his crime, right? When he did this, right? He lacerated the sacrum robur with his cuspide, and he entorsated the sceleratum hastam into its tergo. And then they conclamant that the simulacrum needs to be ducendumed to the sedes, and that the noumena of the dy need to be oranded. And so we bring it in, right? That's what's going on here. Short sentence, right? So really easy to just go left to right. We dividimus the muros, and we pondimus the moinia. We divide the walls, verb object, and object verb, beautiful chiasmus. And what is this chiasmus doing? These are the walls of the city. And we are opening the gates. Oh man, that's a beautiful chiasmus, right? We are, in fact, dividing the walls and like expanding, right? Spreading open the also walls, and then urbis must be like of the city. So we can give a synonym for walls, right? We know that like a murus is a city wall, and then a moinia can also just be like any sort of fortification for a city. So we divide the city walls and we spread open the fortifications of the city. We spread open the defensive walls of the city. Would be okay too. The ramparts of the city, perhaps there for Moinia. All right, horses coming in. Kingunt, we had this word before, I think, but I'm not really sure. Kingunt needs a plural subject, so it's probably everybody. Everybody like girds themselves. Everybody like gets dressed, like strap on their equipment, right? Kingo really is like to wrap around, or like to like a cincture, right? Like to tighten your belt is the idea here. But everybody, we typically just translate this as gird oneself. So everybody girds themselves for the ovary, for the dative. And then we got a quay on here, so another half of the sentence. And they subiciunt, right? This looks like my connection here. They place underneath, right? Like, I guess literally like they throw underneath, but like you wouldn't throw something underneath it. They place this has got to be lapsus, the slippings of wheels, and you do it under a dative. This verb takes a dative, right? Like they place the glidings or the slippings of wheels under its feet. So we got giant horse, super good drawing here on my part. That's its tail. And it's got feet, and people are getting ready, right? They're like, yeah, I'm ready. And we're going to get our gear on, and then we're going to place the glidings of wheels underneath the horse, and we're going to do something else. Stupea looks like it goes with vincula. Cola we just recently had, and then intendunt we also recently had, like a form of tendunt, like where the snakes head for the shores. Oh, we had he strains, right, to unravel the knots. But I thought we also had them straining. Yeah, they head for lands, right? They head for the fields, the plow lands. All right. So we like stretch on or strain on literally, but these are stupeia vincula, so these are hemp chains or hemp ropes. So probably just like they tighten hemp ropes on its neck. All right, throwing some ropes around the horse's neck. Scondit, new subject because it's singular. Fatalis machina looks like my subject, right? The fatal machine, the death-bringing machine. Scondit's the muros. Oh, it's also described as feta, teeming with the ablative, or literally pregnant with the ablative. Teeming, of course, this kind of teeming, just an English word. Teeming with arms, pregnant with weapons. Pueri, new subject. Kirkum without an accusative, so just like boys do something around, right? Oh, boys and unwed girls. You could put the kirkum with the kana, call it a temesis, be like sing holy songs around it, or just an adverbial around, boys around and unwed girls sing holy things. And they, accusative, ablative, infinitive, based on Gaudent, like they rejoice to, or like they are happy, tango tangere, to touch, right? Like together. They are happy to touch the funem, that's our Caesar word for rope, with their hand. They're happy to, yay, woohoo, there's a rope, I'm touching it, right? Illa, that thing, the horse, sub its, media looks like it goes with urbi, and what else does it do? Well, threatening, it there's that lapsus form again, right? Like we had, this is the verb, like it glides into, and it is deponent, labor labi lapsus, and threatening, it glides into the dative, the middle of the city. And then Aeneas gets all emotional. He goes, oh, patria, oh, plus the nominative or vocative that we're addressing, right? Oh, home of Diwam, short for Divorum. Oh, home of the gods, and that home is Ilium. And walls of the Dardanians, incluta, like, you know, renowned in war, famous for war. He says quater again 4 times in that very threshold of the gate. Somebody stood there, I guess the horse, right? It stood there, and ablative, probably from its belly, a sound 4 times. Oh, there's my subject. Arma dedera is actually dederunt, right? And it stood there, and 4 times it stood there, and 4 times weapons gave a sound from its belly, but people don't hear it, right? Instamus tamen, however, or like we, however, press on. We had instat with labor in the B simile, I think. However, we press on, forgetful and blind with madness. And this is accusative, well, this is neuter, right? So infalix does go with it. It's a infalix, right? 1 termination, 3rd declension adjective, so it's matching monstrum here in either nominative or accusative. Sacrata goes with arche. So we press on, however, in memores, and blind with fury, and we systemus, we set up, we stand the monstrum infalix on the sacrata arche. Then also, or like even then, or like even then, right? Looks like fatis is being described by futuris, verb, subject. Cassandra opens. Well, she doesn't open the ablative, so it must be this. She opens her aura, her mouths, or like her lips with future fates, right? By order of the god, ablative with a genitive next to it, because it's not her mouth of the god, right? Order of the god, never believed by Teucrians. We, miserable, do something we do something to the shrines of the gods. We don't know what yet because we get this relative clause. We, for whom that